Welcome back to Real Estate with Mariah and Spence. Today we have a list of things that, according to Realtor.com, first-time home buyers wished they would have known before buying a house. And then at the very end, we are going to share, Spencer doesn't know this yet, I haven't thought of anything, so it's going to be on the off the top of our heads, but we're going to share what we wish we would have known before buying a house the first time we bought a house. So be sure to stay tuned until the very end. You're not going to want to miss that. So that's what we're talking about today, Spencer.
Okay, and I'm just the guy, I sit in a chair and I say, hey, what's up? My name's Spencer. So
yeah, he's just finding this out for the first time. So he never knows ahead of time. It's kind of fun. What we're going to talk about, I just throw it on him and then he jumps in.
Well, we have been having so much fun, or at least I have. I don't know about you. I'm speaking for myself now.
What?
In right now's real estate market. And here's why. Mm-hmm. It's because I'm able to negotiate right now.
Yes.
It feels like I have more buyers than ever. Even though the interest rates are so high, it's like they are just 100% determined. They have that one more determination to get into a home. And I'm feeling like the responsibility to make it happen for them because I'm seeing that swing.
Yeah.
And all I can do is be that educator to help them get where they need to be. And home ownership is one of their goals, is the utmost highest priority in their life right now. Maybe they just had a baby or they're selling and they need to rebuy and they just don't want any more interest rate hikes. So
or their lease is up and they don't want to renew it. And
that's
so
been a big
they have
one.
to get into a home now.
That has been a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are sick of the rent, the
Yeah.
rental market. So they want to get into the real estate market and be a home owner for the first time in their lives.
To share what a little bit of what I've been seeing lately in the market, just to show how much things have changed. So last week I wrote an offer for a buyer. And we had 3 back and forths. We counter offers between us. We sent them an offer. The sellers countered. We countered. And then the sellers, there was actually 4. The sellers countered. So
that's
there
a lot,
were 4.
by the way. If you guys don't know that is a lot of counters.
Well, it is, but I'm thinking back to, 2017, 2018. I used to do that all the time. It was totally normal. But now, for the longest time, I would always tell my buyers, don't expect a counter because that's not a thing. Like it's literally not a thing anymore. And it's a thing again. I'm excited. I'm having a lot of fun negotiating for my buyers. Another thing I've recently seen that shows the market has shifted is I wrote a repair addendum. We had a home inspection on a house I have under contract, and I wrote a repair addendum recently. If you're not familiar with that, basically it's where you as the buyer have the chance to ask the seller after you have your inspection to do repairs. And for the last couple years, we've not really seen any. A lot of times it's like you don't even bother asking, or you ask, but they're not going to do anything because everything is in the seller's favor. But we asked for a very, very, very long list of things to be done. And the seller accepted all of them.
Wait, he did them all?
They did them all. Yeah, they didn't even send us a counter to negotiate. And I'm not saying, don't listen to this and be like, ooh, well,
I can do everything in the moon.
Looks like, I'm just going to throw an offer $20,000 under asking and just expect, we got to be realistic.
Rough.
These are also the reason I'm sharing them is because I'm excited because they're rare circumstances, but just to say, things are shifting and they have shifted. So, but on the other side of things, people that are waiting to buy, it's like, are interest rates going to go up? We're seeing a lot of buyers. You were just telling me something about the monthly payment at a certain price a year ago versus now. A year ago, home buyers were nervous to buy because they were saying it's so competitive. We don't want to buy in this market. And interest rates were low, and now home buyers are saying, well, we don't want to buy because interest rates are too high, even though it's less competitive. So what I'm trying to say is there are pros and there are cons to any market you're going to buy in. You're not going to get all of them. You're not going to get low interest rates and no competition, and you're also not going to get, you got to choose what's best for you.
Well,
so
it's really
my rant's
fun.
over.
No, that's fun because when we were talking about this, can I elaborate a little bit more about that conversation?
Please do.
So a lot of our ideas, it comes from Mariah and I just talking because we love real estate. We love, and we have that passion, and we have so many transactions we get to share back and forth with each other. We come home at the end of the day, we relax on the back deck, and we say, we sit down, we're under the stars. Just visualize this. We're under the stars on our back deck. Got the warm heater behind us because it's getting a little fall evenings. And you just take a deep breath and you go, man, I'm glad I bought a year ago.
For real.
And then that opened up the door as to why we were so happy, but also fortunate we bought a year ago because of today's interest rates based off of last year's interest rates. Last year, if you just round numbers, okay, we had a 3% interest rate, and if you're buying a $500,000 house in last year's market, putting 20% down, your mortgage is going to be around $2,100, okay, maybe a little bit over $2,100. Mm-hmm. In today's market, think about this, $2,100 versus this next number I'm about to give you, buying a $500,000 house, if it's available and likable to your standards. Today's rate at a 6%, which right now they're a little bit more than 6%. You're looking at a $2,900 mortgage. So that is a $800 difference versus a year ago. Putting 20% down, so that's $150,000 roughly in equity loss because of this interest rate. So are you comfortable being $800 more for this $500,000 house? That's really up to you. Because market appreciation says it has gone up within 16 to 20%, depending on your area. So that's that $500,000 house raising equity that 15 or 16 to 20%, depending on the area. That's a ton of money.
Right.
If you really break down those numbers, it's quite unbelievable, and that's why we get to be like, I'm thankful right now.
But on the flip side, a year ago, when we bought, a lot of people were telling us, you're crazy to buy. It's at the peak. You're buying. Prices are way too high. You're paying that for this. They were saying it's way too competitive. So I guess the moral of the story, I feel like a broken record because I always say this, because I always get asked, when's the best time to buy? Is it a good time to buy? Should I buy? Like, I just really believe that the best time to buy, based off of our purchases, based off of the clients I've seen purchase, is the best time to buy is when it makes sense for you and when it's a good time for you. Because one, you're going to pay to live somewhere anyway. And I would argue that I really do believe in most cases, you're probably going to be better off paying a mortgage versus rent long term. So buy when it's best for you. Buy when things are convenient. You can't really time the market. And even if you try to, like I said, buyers are jumping out now because a lot of buyers were waiting for this. They were waiting for things to cool down, and finally they have, but at the same time, they're dealing with the higher interest rates. So it's like, you got to choose what's best for you.
But by the way, you're not stuck though in these interest rates, because there's always refinancing options.
Yes.
I'm hearing everybody talk about this you know what, I just want it to get into home ownership so bad, or replacement property purchases so bad. I can't just sit and wait rent. I got to make this purchase. I got to do it. And I might not like what I see right now on paper when it comes to my mortgage and expense, just closing costs right now. So they're anticipating rates dropping and refinancing here in the near future. So if you're a lender, hold on, because those refis are going to come back, because no one's refining right now. And there are cool loan programs that you might want to look into. My personal lender, he was talking to me about all these different options and buy down rate options. And he's even telling me some sellers are paying for the buy down through these programs. So if you have questions about that, give us a call or text 503-507-3666.
Also, one more thing to add before we finally get into today's
I feel like a salesman
show.
Give my number out.
Interest rates in April 1980 were almost 20%. That's crazy.
Can you believe that was 40 years
ago?
And
home prices were lower, but also inflation. Everything was. So
our market right now, we're hitting the highest inflation period I think we have ever seen in today's world.
With how fast things.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on about the economy, so don't get me on that track.
Okay, so getting into today's show, finally.
Hey, this is all about home ownership.
It's important to know what's going on in the market. And this is everything we just said. That's from a local perspective. Our office, we're located in Salem. We serve in Salem, Oregon, and everywhere in the surrounding area. So if you are someone who's thinking about buying or selling or relocating to our area, we'd love to work with you. However, with that being said, this is from what I'm seeing. I mean, I really keep up with the real estate market and connect with realtors all over the country. And from what I'm hearing, this is pretty much going on in most places. It's very
nationwide.
similar. Yes. Okay. So all of that being said, the first thing that home buyers, according to realtor.com, first-time buyers wish they knew before buying a house is that even if a home looks perfect, it has problems. I remember I sold a friend of mine a house over behind like Winco in South Salem.
Yeah, I remember that sale.
Yes. So I sold them a house over there, and it was a newer home. It wasn't like brand new, but it was, great condition, updated cabinets. Like you would never expect that there would be anything wrong with it. But then we got the inspection report back, and there was actually a handful, lot of things.
What was wrong with that?
I don't remember. I don't remember. This was a long time. This was back in like 2017.
Hey, wait, time. Are we talking like little things like wrong with that?
No, yeah. Well, there was nothing like the roof needs to be replaced, but there was a lot of small things. Like we had a very long list that we asked the seller for, and they were all things that like you wouldn't expect. And that goes along with it. Okay. What this says is even if a home looks perfect, it has problems. Yes. It's very true. You don't know. Just because you walk through a home and it doesn't look like there's issues, you don't know what could be going on underneath the surface. And most of those things are things that like
they're all fixable.
They're fixable, and
sometimes.
and you can usually fix them over time. It's not like you can't live there with something like that. But there are things that totally
my thing is
what?
It's a really good point though, because there will always be something on this inspection report. If you pay for an inspection, there's going to be something on it.
I've never seen a inspection without any.
Nothing is just clean. It's white as snow. So you got to understand that yes, we need to ask for repairs if you're uncomfortable with them or can't fix them yourself.
Or if it's a hazard, you should ask for it. You should ask for it to be done.
But another response is that a lot of not the first time home buyers, but purchasers that have made in the past understand is that's home ownership. A lot of the maintenance and routine things are gonna come with living in the home.
Right.
Okay.
Right. There's things that did not come up on our inspection report that now, so many months or whatever after living in our home.
We just made it a year.
Yeah.
This is our year anniversary.
Yes.
Home ownership. Woohoo.
Yes. And there were plenty of things that didn't come up on the report that were now like, okay, well, we're going to need to fix this soon. We just fixed this. We're going to have to like, it's constant. And of course it's even more, I think, when it's an older home, like ours is, there's more things that just could come up or go wrong, versus if you're buying a new construction home. But yeah, even if it looks perfect, there could still be things.
Yeah.
I just had, there was mice in like under the house.
There's usually like mouse droppings or something. Or evidence of pest killer.
And this house is newer. Only a few years old, and it was beautiful, gorgeous, very well cared for. So like
quick tip for your seller. If you're a seller out there listening, pick up your rodent kill. Pick it up. Okay. You spread the chemicals or whatever you're using. Rodent dies. Pick up the rodent. Pick up the chemical.
Yeah.
Don't, you're not sweeping anything on the rug. You took care of the problem. Just don't leave the evidence.
Right. One thing you can do too as a seller, I feel like this is a little controversial. You might argue one way or the other. We did this the first time we sold our house, the first house we sold. Mm-hmm. We actually paid for the inspector to come and do a home inspection before we listed it.
We did. And why did we do that?
Because we just wanted to see if there was anything, because we didn't get an inspection when we bought it. We live on the edge. And we bought it inspection free. And so we wanted to make sure there were no like deal breakers so we could fix them first. And I think it depends on the home and the situation. There's definitely pros and cons to doing that. One of the cons is the buyers are probably going to get their own inspection anyway. Like you could choose to be like, hey, I'll give you the inspection report, but I would say the whole point of doing it is so you can fix those things. Yeah. So you don't want to give them a report. You want them to go get their own inspection and then see those things aren't there anymore, if that makes sense. But where was I going with this? I was going somewhere. Buyers will get their own inspection anyway, and it's their responsibility to pay for it. They're usually like $450 or so. So you don't have to do that, but if you really want to be extra, you can as a seller.
Absolutely.
Okay, next. This is a good one. Okay, next thing someone wish they knew from realtor.com before buying a house was stop Googling, move away from the computer and into the real world. You can't get pre-qualified by plugging in simple numbers on a mortgage calculator. You need an experienced lender who will take in detailed history and require documentation of your assets and income. This is the only way you'll establish if you qualify for a mortgage and for how much. And what I found is those silly mortgage calculators on Zillow and other websites are just so not accurate. Like, you just can't. I don't know. Maybe they're good to give you a ballpark if you're someone who's like, I have no clue. Like, I know nothing about nothing. Does. Yeah, probably.
Like, oh, I know what my mortgage would be. It'd be this. I can never buy that.
Right.
Like, dude, what are you talking about?
The thing is, there's so many factors that come into play. And I would say, don't trust it. If you're serious about buying, don't trust it. Just talk to a lender, because those are so off. Just like the Zestimate is oftentimes really off. So, we can't trust computer automated things all the time.
I had like a 40-minute great conversation with a possible new client of ours, which I'm meeting up with tomorrow. And a lot of her information was coming from Zillow and relying on the Zillow website, and how annoyed she is, though, that Zillow is terribly inaccurate. And all I could do is agree with her, because, it's so not up to date. Even property tax information, county records, that type of thing. It's so inaccurate oftentimes. So remember, as a consumer, you guys, and you're just using the free websites and stuff, I get it. Why not? It's fun to see what's out there. Yeah. But when you're actually serious, working with a real estate professional, by the way, it's free. Yeah. It's only going to be in your best interest, because I have a team in place for you guys. We've done the trial and error for you. I use the same team members on my personal purchases. Yes. So why wouldn't I give them to you? I've had great success with them. We've had great success with them, client after client. And there's a reason we refer them to you. We get no kickback money. Right. None at all. So use our lender. Use our inspector.
Right. It's true. It makes a big difference. Okay, this next thing that first-time buyers wish they knew is never miss a deadline. Okay, I'm not going to try to say this guy's name, but this guy and his brother, who said this one, struggled to keep up with the copious paperwork and nearly missed an essential appointment to complete their loan. We had to beg and plead our case, he remembers. Thankfully, we were able to hustle and finalize. So, I guess I have two things to say about this. One is, it is your realtor's job and your lender for things on their end to be reminding you of the deadlines. Like, I would never not tell my clients, for example, there's the earnest money. I would never not be like, hey, we need to get your earnest money in now. Like, it is our job to be reminding you of those deadlines. But two, sometimes there are things that, like, just to give example, the lender, because I've done this before when we were purchasing before, where the lender will send you something and you don't sign it in a timely manner.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
on you.
Mariah, she did that terribly. I'm like,
yeah. But anyway, more of the story is that's on you, and
it's all digital. It's all electric.
Yes.
DigiSign. I mean,
so if your lender sends you something, just sign it. Don't do what I've done.
Look over the paperwork too, by the way.
Of course. But don't take your time. So I'm trying to say,
because from my experiences, like with lending documentation, like I actually wanted to read through it, make sure the income's accurate, make sure my mortgage rate's accurate, make sure my actual monthly payment is accurate, my estimated payment, make sure my closing costs, what I need to come up with it down, is accurate. So you're aware of all these numbers. So there's no you're not doing your own due diligence. You get to the closing table. Oh, where'd this $10,000 bill come from? Well, that's your closing cost. That's what you need to bring to close. That's what that title means. Bring to closing. Down payment and closing costs. So all of these things are pretty well identified from our experiences. Most lending institutions are the same when it comes to documentation. So that's been my experiences with them. But if you do have questions, is my whole point. If you do have questions about these documents and you think a number's off, or man, this doesn't look right. I'm uncomfortable with that payment or something. $50 is a little bit different than $200, by the way. Call the lender and say, hey, can you go over this with me real quick? And if he's a good guy, he's going to do it, because he's not going to force you to sign anything you don't want to.
Right. Okay, so another thing that first-time buyers wish they knew before buying was choose a lender you like. A lender can make or break a deal, so choose wisely. We've said that before ourselves many times, and I would actually argue that the lender you choose is going to make a lot bigger difference in how the transaction goes than the realtor you choose.
They really do.
Do you agree?
Absolutely.
They matter more than we do. So you need to, obviously choose a realtor you trust and want to work with, but the lender is even more essential to like really trust and want to work with because they really can make or break a deal.
Well, think about it this way. Go to the store, try and buy a candy bar. How do you buy it? Money, your wallet. What if I leave my wallet at home? I can't buy it. Your lender is your wallet.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a wallet with holes in it, it's always losing cards, always losing your cash. That's a bad lender. Okay. Yeah. So they hold the money. That's the reality of it. And in a purchase, that's everything.
Yes. Okay. Another thing first-time buyers wish they knew was you're going to need to summon reserves of patience.
Summon?
Summon.
that word is terrible.
That's what they said. Summon reserves of patience. Basically just
with like declaring
gather
patience
up.
over yourself.
Okay, I'll put it in different words. Gather up your patience and expect to use it throughout the process because you're probably going to need it. And that's a huge thing. That's for when you're looking. It might take longer than you think. But another thing is, I just had a situation where I have these clients moving here from another state. We only looked at a couple houses virtually and then they found the one. Like literally, like it was the second house I think I virtually showed them. And it was the one they decided to buy. So they make an offer on this home. So it didn't take that long to find the home and get an offer accepted for them, but they're wanting to close like ASAP. And we just found out we might have a delay, like a little bit into the transaction. So like
really?
there's just, you will need patience because I know when you're in the escrow process, everyone wants to close. I'm this way too. Like you want to close ASAP. You want to get into that home and you're so excited. You're planning, where you're going to put your furniture. You're just planning everything out. But you got to be patient because sometimes things come up and the escrow agents or lender will need a little bit more time to get the process closed. And you're going to have to be flexible and be able to be like, okay, we can push it out a few days. Sometimes it's more than a few days. And hopefully our goal is for that to not happen. But sometimes things are out of our control. So, okay, so now this leads me to the part you've been waiting for. What did we not know? Think back to when we bought our very first house. What did we not know that we wish we would have known?
Dude, I was so confused because I wasn't.
What were you confused about?
Well, I wasn't a realtor. You just got sent documents. You just accepted everything. Mariah never sent counters for us. And I was just like, what are we doing? We get this offer. It was a VA home
You're talking
loan.
about...
This was our first home sale.
No, we're talking about when you buy, but also you can talk about this too.
Okay.
I was saying when you bought your first house, what did you not know?
Even that part, I guess.
What did you not know
house,
that you wish you would have known that would have made things easier?
I'm always big in asking for forgiveness, right? So I'm going to send over everything on the inspection report or send in an offer as low as possible, depending on the market, and going for it. Well, we kind of didn't do that. In this market, we could have done that. I feel like I really do feel like that.
We definitely didn't.
We literally were just grateful to find a home to purchase. That's how we were. And you know what? It worked out, and it does work out oftentimes.
Yeah, we still made a lot of money from it when we sold it. This was our second home actually, but the first one was bought in a very like unconventional way. So I feel like the second one's more our first home purchase because that was the first time we were like house hunting. So,
we didn't ask anything on the inspection.
No, and we actually, we didn't.
Wasn't much wrong, but.
We didn't do really much negotiating, I guess you could say, for ourselves. It was very like, we want this house and let's just offer whatever they want and make them happy. And
it was like we were just happy to be.
Just to get it accepted. But I think...
But there's nothing wrong with that, too.
If that's the house you want, that's the way I see it. Like, we were not buying it to be an investment property where we need to get a deal. Like, I knew this is the home I want to live in. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pay what I need to get into it. And it wasn't like a crazy amount. Like, it was not anything that was like going to put us in a bad position by any means. It wasn't like we were being dumb. But I also knew like, this is where we want to live. So let's do what it takes to get the offer, and be workable with the sellers. And so we really didn't do much like fighting for ourselves.
How about this? Here's a good lesson though. Reflecting.
What?
Reflecting.
What?
And you probably don't even realize this, but
what?
On our first home purchase, I didn't use the lender I use currently. I'm not bashing my old lender, but my rate, I feel like, was just way too high for people with great credit and stuff like that. A good amount.
What was your
down.
interest rate back then? Do you remember?
Well, my first one was like at a 5.5, I think,
Okay.
on the original purchase on Blue River. But
Okay.
I feel like it should have been at a 5 or lower.
Based off of what we were
Based
seeing.
off of what I was seeing. And I always kind of wandered in my head like, man, is this too high? But I didn't know it was too high. I was happy with my mortgage at that point, but it could have been lower. I know it could have been. And I don't know why it wasn't lower, because we personally knew this lender. He was like, he was family.
But I don't know how
friend.
that worked. I don't know how.
I didn't know how it worked either. And I asked
right.
him about it, and he explained it, and I was like, oh, okay. And I moved on.
Right.
But after talking with our new guy, he was like, that wasn't a great rate. But maybe ask around with
So we
lenders.
could have, maybe talk to
saved-
a couple lenders, which we have a couple we can send you if you would like as well. But
Because it's confusing,
it is.
You
for
always
a
see
first-time
online
buyer.
like, oh, Rocket
Yeah.
Mortgage, they have this rate for you or something, and then you actually look into it and it's like a
There's
full like
hidden
1.5, 2
fees.
points higher.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I put in my actual data. They won't leave me alone now. My rate's a lot different than what it looked like advertised wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I wish I didn't do that. And that's why I think people fear like actually reaching out and talking
Yeah.
with lenders, because you never actually know until your info's in.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Well, that wraps it up for this week's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we come on here every week and just talk all about real estate. And if you are someone who is thinking about buying or selling real estate in or anywhere around Salem, Oregon, or the surrounding areas, we'd love to work with you. And if you're thinking about buying or selling anywhere outside of our area, we'd love to set you up with a solid realtor in your area. Like I was saying earlier, we have connections with solid top realtors in many different parts of the country, and we'd love to help you. And we'll see you guys next time.